She cared for everyone but herself, until the woman hired to help her turned her home into a nightmare, and had no idea her son worked for the U.S. Secret Service. Everyone said the house at the end of Juniper Street was quiet, but nobody knew what really happened behind its doors. The curtains were always drawn. Neighbors thought Mrs. Loretta was just an old woman living out her quiet days. They didn't know the truth, not even close. Mrs. Loretta had once been full of laughter. She used to sit on her porch and sing little songs to the birds. But since her husband passed, her world had dimmed. She still smiled, still said thank you to the mailman, but her steps had slowed. Her hands sometimes shook, and there were days she couldn't even make it to the front door. Her son, Marcus, knew she needed help. He hated the thought of not being there, but duty called. He wasn't just anyone. Marcus worked for the U.S. Secret Service. His job was dangerous. His missions were classified. But to him, nothing was more important than his mom. He made calls, pulled favors, found a caregiving agency that promised compassion and care. They sent Greta. Pause for a moment. Take a deep breath. This isn't just a story. It's a wake-up call. What happened to Mrs. Loretta could happen to anyone's mother, grandmother, or neighbor. Abuse hides in plain sight, behind smiles, behind closed doors. So listen closely. Stay with us. And if this hits your heart, like, share, and subscribe. Because the more people know, the harder it is for evil to stay quiet. When Marcus met Greta, Greta smiled wide, said all the right things, called Loretta ma'am, and offered her a blanket. She brought flowers, baked cookies, even prayed with them. Marcus left feeling relieved. She's perfect, he told his team before boarding the plane. But the second his car turned the corner, Greta changed. That warm voice? Gone. That kind smile? Replaced with a cold stare. Don't touch anything unless I say so, Greta snapped, snatching the cookie tray from Loretta's lap. And don't even think about calling your precious son. At first, Loretta thought maybe she was just tired. Maybe she was having a bad day. But the bad days never stopped. Greta would make dinner and then throw it in the trash before Loretta could eat. She'd turn up the TV so loud at night it rattled the windows, then scream at Loretta for making noise. She took the phone off the hook, hid Loretta's glasses, smiled in front of visitors, and called her Old Roach the second they left. Sometimes, when Loretta was half asleep, Greta would lean close to her ear and whisper, "No one's coming. He left you. You're all mine now." Loretta tried to tell someone, anyone, but Greta was always one step ahead. She answered every phone call, stood right next to Loretta during video chats, held her arm too tightly when guests stopped by. Marcus called once, asking if everything was okay. Loretta opened her mouth. Greta's hand pressed firmly on her shoulder. "Yes, baby. I'm fine," she said softly, forcing a smile. After the call ended, Greta laughed. "Good little actress. Keep it up." Loretta sat in her chair, hands trembling. She looked at the picture of Marcus on the shelf. Her brave boy. Her protector. But he was far away. And she was all alone. Or so she thought. The nights were worse. Greta had stopped pretending. No more fake smiles. No more polite words. Now, she just sneered. "You're nothing," she hissed one morning, snatching away Loretta's breakfast tray. "Not even worth eggs." She stopped feeding her sometimes. Told the neighbors Loretta was refusing to eat, losing her mind. She shut off the heat during the coldest nights, claiming the furnace was broken. Loretta's fingers turned stiff and blue. Greta handed her a thin sheet and said, "Use this, or don't. I don't care." But the worst was the fall. Greta had been dragging a chair too fast. Loretta tried to help. She reached out, too slow. Greta shoved. Hard. Loretta hit the floor with a scream that shook the building. Greta rushed to the door, fake panic in her voice. She slipped. She told the neighbor who peeked in, "Poor thing. She's getting so clumsy." That night, Loretta sat on her bed with bruises blooming along her back. Greta brought her a single slice of bread and tossed it on the blanket. "There, eat, dog." Loretta didn't say a word. She just looked at the photo on her dresser. Marcus in his suit, smiling, proud. Her baby boy. She missed his voice, missed the way he used to call her mama even as a grown man. The few calls they had now were short and strange. Greta stood nearby, pretending to tidy up. Loretta didn't dare speak the truth. But Marcus was trained to hear fear, trained to notice what others missed. And Loretta sounded wrong. Her words were soft. Her voice cracked. Once, she whispered something, too fast to catch. Then the line went dead. Marcus didn't wait. He pulled aside his superior after a security debrief. "Something's not right," he said. "Your mother?" Marcus nodded. "I don't trust the caregiver." I can hear it in her voice. His boss didn't ask questions, just gave a firm nod. "Wrap the mission. Go home. Now." Back at the house, Greta was on the phone in the kitchen. Loretta sat in silence, barely breathing, as Greta bragged to a friend. "She's nothing. Just a sack of bones. I could leave for hours and no one would know." Later that night, Greta stood in Loretta's doorway. "If you tell anyone," she said slowly, "you'll never see your son again. You hear me?" Loretta didn't answer. She couldn't. The fear was choking her. Greta left, slamming the door behind her. The room was dark, quiet, cold. Loretta reached for the photo frame. Her fingers traced Marcus's face. The smile, the suit, the eyes that had always seen her, really seen her. She didn't cry this time. She stared at the picture for a long time, and though her hands were weak, her eyes burned with something that hadn't been there before. Not just fear, but fire. It was late in the night when Marcus arrived. Midnight. No headlights. No sound. Just a silent black car rolling up to the house at the end of Juniper Street. He didn't knock. Didn't ring. He slipped through the door like smoke, quiet and invisible. Marcus had been trained for this. Surveillance. Stealth. Extraction. He'd done it in foreign cities, war zones, and embassies. But this wasn't some target halfway across the world. This was home. He moved like a shadow through the halls. Nothing had changed, and yet, everything had. The air felt heavy. The lights were dim, like someone was trying to hide something. Every clock ticked a little too loud. The fridge hummed, but the house felt cold. Then he heard it. Laughter. From the kitchen. He crept closer. Greta was on the phone, leaning on the counter with a glass of wine. "I swear, it's been the easiest money I ever made," she whispered. "She can't do anything. Doesn't even talk. The old bat just sits there like a broken doll." Marcus clenched his jaw. He kept moving. Through the hallway. Past the living room. Into the guest room, where he set down a small black case. Inside of it are micro cameras, recorders, motion sensors. He worked fast, planting them in lamps, behind picture frames, under tables. He placed one last camera in the corner of Loretta's room. That's when he saw her. She was smaller than he remembered, curled up in a thin blanket, eyes wide open. Her hands were trembling. But when she saw him, really saw him, something in her face shifted, like a flicker of light in a long tunnel. He raised one finger to his lips. Not yet. For the next 48 hours, Marcus watched. From a rented apartment down the street, he monitored every move, every cruel word, every cruel silence. Greta yelling, Greta mocking, Greta lying. She let Loretta fall again, laughed when she cried, faked concern when the neighbor stopped by to drop off soup. And once, just once, she looked straight at the camera hidden in the lamp, unaware it was even there. "I could kill her," Greta muttered to herself. "And no one would notice. They'd just call it age." That was enough. But Marcus waited, one last time. It happened on the third night. Greta, angry over a spilled cup of water, marched into Loretta's room and slapped her across the face. A sharp sound. A silence after. Then, the front door flew open. Marcus moved like lightning. His badge in one hand, gun in the other. "Federal agent," he barked. "Back away from her. Now." Greta froze. Pale. Stunned. Loretta gasped, hand on her cheek. Then her eyes filled with something Marcus hadn't seen in months. Relief. He stood between them, taller than ever. "Game's over," he said. And this time, nobody whispered. Greta didn't even have time to run. Within minutes, red and blue lights painted the windows. 2 squad cars. 4 officers. Marcus stepped back, letting them in. "Everything's on video," he told them, calm and clear. "The cameras are live. Recordings saved off-site. I got audio. I got timestamps. I got injuries. You're looking at a pattern of elder abuse, falsified ID, and violation of federal care laws." One of the officers looked stunned. "Who are you exactly?" Marcus held up his badge again. U.S. Secret Service. The room went still. Greta tried to speak, tried to play the victim. But the cops didn't buy it. Not after the footage Marcus showed them. Greta on the phone, laughing about how easy Loretta was to manipulate. Greta yanking away meals. Greta whispering threats. Greta pushing Loretta to the floor. "She's got history," Marcus added, handing over a file he'd compiled. Fake names in 3 states. Complaints from 2 other families. All elderly. All black. The officers looked at each other. "Put her in cuffs." Greta screamed. "No, no, this isn't. You don't understand." But it didn't matter anymore. They dragged her out of the house, kicking and crying. She tried to twist free. Called it a mistake. Begged. Cursed. Loretta didn't say a word. She watched from her chair, trembling slightly, her hands folded tight in her lap. The door closed. Silence. Marcus turned around, his chest rising and falling. Not from fear, from fury held in too long. He knelt beside his mother, gently took her hands. "Mama." Loretta looked at him, her voice barely a whisper. "You were watching me." He nodded, voice cracking. "Always." Tears spilled down her cheeks, not just sadness, not fear, but release, like something long trapped inside had finally been set free. Marcus wrapped his arms around her and held her like he did when he was a boy, like she used to do when he woke from nightmares. He didn't let go. Later, the police cleared out. The cameras were removed. The fridge was filled. The heater fixed. The next morning, Marcus sat on the porch with Loretta, wrapped in a soft blanket, drinking warm tea. No more whispers. No more fear. Just peace. Just love. The house at the end of Juniper Street was quiet again. But this time, it was safe. There are a lot of scenarios like this out there. It could be you or someone you know. Drop your story in the comments. Your words could help someone else feel seen. If you or someone you love has ever faced a cruel or careless caregiver, your voice matters. What do you think needs to change? How can we protect our elders better? Let's talk about it. Let's demand better. And please, share this video with your friends, your family, your neighbors. Because silence protects the abuser. Truth protects the victim.